Welcome back. So, have you ever read a book or watched a movie where you felt like the writers just pulled the characters from the character stock store, and because of it, it was hard to kind of be invested in the story? Recently, my brother and I worked our way through a drama that, off the top, had a lot of stuff going for it. Really promising premise, solid soundtrack, great cast that we trusted from other things, and it promised a lot of really cool action scenes, which I was also pretty pumped about. While I ended up being okay with the payout of the show, I did feel like they stuck the landing in the end. I realized pretty quickly as we were working through it that there was something not quite there. Something that was not working for me. Honestly, I could do an entire post on the issue of plot and pacing and the fact that there were entire hour-long episodes where absolutely zero forward progress was made. I think they kind of just hoped that we would be too distracted by all of the cool visuals and the epic speed ramping action scenes and the 80 guys being punched out per episode to actually notice that plot just was on pause, but we did notice, and it was a problem. So definitely plot was the biggest issue. However, there were also a lot of good things. The story had a lot of heart to it. Also, the villains were solid. I think the villains carried. Again, I feel like they landed the plane in the end. There is one thing that tweaked me and that has stayed with me, and that is the issue of lazy character creation, or lazy character profiling is maybe the better term. This is a tiny thing. It's so small, but just as an example. At one point in this show, we're told that we are going to be introduced to kind of Russian gang character. He's arriving with a bunch of other guests. So we know there's 3 guests arriving, and they're all from different places. Who's gonna be who and who's gonna look like what? This was a really good opportunity for the writers to play with our expectations. Now, when this character appears on the scene, the first thing we see is his outfit, which is just a ton of fur, so much fur. And so our first thought is okay, here's the Russian. This must be the Russian. But here's the thing, we're right. It is the Russian. And that's not a problem. It's fine. It makes it easy for us to identify. It's kind of what we expect, so they don't really have to do too much explanation. There's nothing wrong with it, but it bugged me. And I had to kind of really think about why am I so tweaked by this? Of all the other issues happening in this show right now, why is this one of the things that's actually really bugging me? Fast forward a little bit to a different show. And the character we're about to meet is a thug, the thug of the big bad. So he's not even the big bad. He comes on the scene and he kind of looks like he's from a band. He has kind of a 70s haircut, and I think he has gold-rimmed glasses. Just interesting look right off the top. We meet him when he's trying to conduct a business conversation with one of his cronies while he's playing a video game actively in an internet cafe. And so he'll be having this conversation with the guy, he's barely listening, and then he'll just make some comment to his fellow players about whatever battle they're fighting in the game. Totally a power move. By the end of the conversation, it is established that this guy will smash your face into a keyboard, no problem, and then keep playing his video game. So he's terrifying, but also very unexpected, which got me thinking, okay, here is the difference. That is not what I expect when I hear thug. When I hear thug, I'm thinking massive guy, probably bald, not a lot going on upstairs. What I do not think of is ridiculously attractive young martial arts fighter who has to hand his glasses to one of his cronies before he beats someone up and is addicted to video games, the very same kind of video game probably that the characters from, say, Big Bang Theory are totally targeted for and treated as geeks and nerds for. So it's this really interesting mashup of things that you would not expect from someone under the label thug. And that was the difference. It made him unexpected, and it made him interesting right off the top. You just wanted to see more of him, and you wanted to see, what is this guy gonna do next? Because I don't know what to expect from him. He doesn't fit the mold. It got me thinking more seriously about the decisions I make early in the process of character creation. We're not even talking about the deep stuff, the layers underneath, but we're talking about profile. When I'm presenting a character, how do I make them unexpected and full of contradictions? Because people are complicated and they don't all fit into this kind of like trope mold that now we have a collection of because stories have been told so much. So how do I make that profile, that silhouette of a character interesting so that people will pay attention to what comes next? And I mean, to be fair, sometimes you just need somebody to come in and be expendable, like get beat up or, create conflict for a second and then leave. And those are the moments where sometimes we make the less time consuming choice and don't put all that legwork into like creating the most unique, like random side thug ever made. I totally get that. Like, I've done it, I do it, no judgment. But what I've been thinking about with this comparison is like, maybe that is the thing, or one of the things that takes a story from like totally adequate and functional to like the next level. Because I feel that when you have that quirkiness and that sort of unexpectedness, even in your smaller scale side characters, it probably lends a greater impression to your whole work that it is nuanced and rich in general. Right? And you know who is really good at that is Charles Dickens. I'm reading Barnaby Rudge right now, which is the first Dickens I've read in a while, just because I haven't really read in a while. But man, he is just so good at handing you these characters that have such an interesting silhouette right off the top. You really have to pay attention because you never know what kind of twists and turns a character description is going to take until the very end. For example, in Barnaby Rudge, he's introducing this character, a kind of disgruntled locksmith's apprentice. He fancies himself something special, like a ladies' man. He doesn't really have much to offer, but he's not aware of that. He's not self-aware at all. You're reading this description going, okay, like I think I've got his number. I think I've got this guy figured out. But then Dickens just kind of veers off and tacks on this added detail that Mr. Tappertit also thinks that he has just the best pair of legs that man has ever had. And he's so proud of his legs that he does everything in his power to present them to the best advantage. And it's so random. Like, I don't know that my brain would ever go in that direction when I'm creating a character, but it's this hilarious little detail that ensured immediately that I would not forget Mr. Tappertit even after I finished this book. Quirks, contradictions, the unexpected, playing with what people think they're going to get from a character. I kind of think of it as the difference between like making a character from scratch and like throwing stuff in to see what works and going to the stock character store and getting something off the shelf. And of course, when we're talking about character, I don't think that that is the most important thing necessarily. For example, in that show that I was talking about before, the characters weren't necessarily the most unexpected or complicated. Most of them were pretty simple and they were what you expected them to be. However, the most important ones still had a lot of emotional appeal. And you still were very invested in them because of all the other things that were in place. The wounds, the motives, the goodness, the goal, all of those like kind of powerful emotional underlayers that drive a character. What they look like or what their hair looks like, that's secondary, but I think that it's also powerful still. Those are the things, those introductory things that make a character's silhouette what it is. All of that matters to make a reader or a viewer feel like, okay, there's something interesting happening here. There's something unexpected happening here. I want to see where this is going, and I want to see if this character continues to defy my expectations. So that's what I've been thinking about. Those are my 2 cents on that. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, do not forget to spend some time in the clouds today.